was just very emphatic that I needed to return immediately and talk with his mother, that the younger brother was in trouble. And I said, well, let me just walk for a little bit and I'll go back. And it was like he showed me a picture, a visual of what was happening in the room of the younger brother. And it was, to be perfectly honest, one of the scariest things I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of stuff. When it's that scary, you don't stop and ask, who are you and what do you want?
Welcome to the Better Each Day podcast radio show with Bruce Hilliard. Today and every day, reaching out for innovative ideas in every way. Today's show is brought to you by your future. It comes with a lifetime guarantee.
She Talks to the Dead, Sanar Alixandyr. Welcome back.
The more life I invest in each moment in time, the more the past seems to reverberate itself and haunt me with things I've said, things I've done. And it reminds me of how I was haunted as a child and a teenager by spirits from, I did not know where they came from, but I was very sensitive to their presences and felt them as real to me, but no one else felt them or saw them. So that created great confusion within myself as a small child. Like, what's real and what's not real?
You mentioned last year you were talking about like Tinkerbell type things that you would see.
Yes, those were the happy ones. Today we can talk about the not so happy ones.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm good for that. Are you going to scare me?
I don't know. You don't look very scarable to me.
I have all the lights on and everything.
You have all the lights on. That's a good idea. Should we light a candle?
I was actually going to buy one. I thought, maybe,
yeah.
But what if it blew out? I was always kidding, saying I was going to set up an extra mic in case a ghost showed up or something like that. But I'd freak out. And I don't know why you don't. The whole topic to me is, all I have is the Hollywood version in mind, so.
Yeah. And all I have is experiential in nature. So, they were, because I had some near-death experiences, I got very clear that I could be here, I could be other places as well. I could see this dimension and be present in a different dimension, and I could see other beings of light or darkness, whether I was in that dimension or this dimension. My consciousness, I'll call it my consciousness, that part that I believe to be me. I'm not the color of my eyes or the sound of my voice or, whatever age I happen to be or whatever talents or skills I happen to have. But there's a piece of me. I got clear very early on, thank you for the gift, that there is a part of me that is beyond this, outside of this, and it can come and go at will.
That is so beyond anything I know about.
Well, I'm sure you've seen it in movies, yeah?
Yeah, all I get is the Hollywood rendition of it. And I think the first thing people want to do is debunk.
Yes.
Some things are hard to prove or disprove. That's why I have you.
And, with a great sense of humor. And I think only by going through some really, really, really crappy times can you start to laugh about it. I remember when I was going through my post-traumatic stress healing process, because I blocked all memory of these experiences from childhood and then began to remember in 1989, which kind of checked me out of tangible reality for a few years. But every time I would re-experience a memory, and that's what post-traumatic stress disorder is, it's a haunting of a past experience, an experience that keeps recurring and recurring and recurring, and you keep experiencing the same event over and over and over again. So people who have been in wars, people who have had horrible, horrible experiences, they somehow get stuck on a loop in your in your beingness somewhere, and it just keeps replaying because it was such a traumatic experience. So I spent several years going through my childhood experiences that were horrible, 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 but I did them from that space of knowing that I'm not the experience, I'm okay. The part that I know myself to be was okay while I was having all of these crazy, horrible experiences. And one day I said, well, because I would be very frightened when they would start to reoccur. I could feel them come up. I could feel like, uh-oh, dun dun, here comes another one, you know. And so then I would just let it emerge and let it come through me. And I would say, well, it obviously didn't kill me because I'm still here, right? You know, until I experienced being killed.
So yeah, how can you laugh about that?
I was like, man, that sucked.
This happened as a child.
Yes.
You were abused as a child?
I was, yeah.
Then you could sit there and smile and look at me. And, like
well, my poor
cool
parents, you know, and you know what? I want to address some of that because both of my parents have passed. It was very difficult for them when I was going through this experience because no one wanted to acknowledge this as truth. So they just told everybody I was crazy. And then you kind of wonder, well, maybe I am. But as you go through processes with psychologists and do your due diligence in history and go to therapies and talk to people, it's like, no, I'm not crazy. These things happened. You know, and you get to a point where I got to a point where I could say, you know, wow, to do this to me, you were really in a lot of pain. Like how, once I got over, oh, poor me, then I could turn around and go, oh, poor you, you know, to have to do that. And then that made me even more sad. But I was able to come back when my father was very ill and passing, and bless him and release him. And I was able to take care of my mother for a while, which helped me to see her even more clearly. And she has since passed. And then both of them are present in my life as ghosts and spirits. But I had to redefine them as healed and whole. Because I could do that, I had to help heal them after they passed. So they started out as malevolent, you know, not very nice spirits bugging me all the time. And finally I said, oh, okay. Let me help you with your energy and release your past experiences. And then they became clean and bright spirits of light, and now they help me.
I wish I knew how to do that.
Dude, that was a long sentence.
Yeah. You know,
sorry.
When somebody treats me like that, I just want to give them a wedgie and throw them out the door.
Yeah.
So I don't know what else to do.
Smack them.
How did you deal with that?
You know, I absolutely not kindly or genteelly at first. I would say I was being haunted. So after my father passed, he would come to me, and he was a dark soul in my perception. It was dark, and I was like, go away, you're dead, you suck, I don't like you, go away. And he kept coming back. Now, I profess that if you are being haunted, you stand up as a strong and healed person, and you tell them to leave you alone, and they go away. Well, this was my father. Yeah. I was like, just leave me alone. Come on, you know, you're gone.
That's what you say if something is haunting you.
Yeah.
You can tell it to go away.
Yeah. Yes, but you have to really take a stand. And if it doesn't go away, then you have to take a look at why it's haunting you.
Do you have to energize yourself to do that? Like, does it take extra effort, extra consciousness, or? It
does. It kind of takes a level of showing upness. So if you are facing down a barking dog, if a dog looked like it's going to chase you, you know, you don't turn away and run because the dog's going to chase you and bite you. Mm. You know, so you turn around, you face it, and you know, very strongly and very powerfully say no, stop, whatever. And they may stop and they may not, but usually that will do it. You know, if it doesn't, then it sometimes takes some kind of intervention of someone that has the capabilities to see all the aspects that are holding this situation in place. Like, why are you being haunted? Who is this? Is it you? Is it the space? Is it something else? Is it some malevolent spirit that go, ooh, lunch, you know? You're so bright and happy, let me have some of you, you know?
So, I know what everybody wants to hear is a malevolent spirit story.
So I moved to Washington State because I love the water, I love the ocean. I moved from Arizona to, I believe, to help heal my childhood completely, because this is where all those childhood experiences happened. And I escaped as soon as I could as a young adult and never came back unless I absolutely had to. And so I know that I came here to physically, like, okay, let's just be done with all that. And I found a lovely apartment in which I was blessed with the ability to live, and discovered that it was an apartment that my mother used to live in.
How did that come about?
I was following spiritual guidance, and I was like, okay, fine. Can I live here? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. So I moved here. And very shortly after moving, the manager of the apartment said, so have you met any of our ghosts? And I said, what? I thought, I never said anything about the ability to, I did not put that on my application to live in an apartment.
Usually it's not on there.
It's not on there.
They always want to know my ethnicity and my gender and
my income.
Yeah, that's key too. Yeah. Ghosts never come up in that application.
No. So she was like, so have you met any of our ghosts? And I'm like, well, actually, yeah. I said, so if you have any trouble, I'm happy to help with that. It's something I kind of do, yada, yada. So one day I was going for a walk, and I had shared that my son had taken his life. Yeah. And for because another lady's son had taken his life, and we were sharing stories and pictures and things, and they were lookalikes, these two boys. And just, it's a group that not very many people understand, and we say it's not one you want to be a member of. So we were visiting and chatting about these things, and I go to take a walk, and this spirit is just badgering me and badgering me and badgering me and badgering me. And I'm like, what the what? I'm taking a walk. It's a beautiful day, And he communicated that he was the brother that had taken his life, and the younger brother needed my help. And I was like, listen, just let me take a walk, and then I'll come back. We'll talk about it. And he would not let me be.
Is this a voice you're hearing?
So when you're talking with spirits, mm-hmm. They don't really communicate in vocal tones. They're energetic. So it's more like someone kind of pushing you from behind, or tapping your shoulder and tapping your shoulder and tapping your shoulder and or a 2-year-old going, mommy, 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 mommy. You don't really hear it, but it's there. And it was like, because this young man has the same name as my father. And so took me a while to decipher who this was and why they were talking to me, because we learned in Ghostbusters 101, you say, who are you and what do you want? Mm-hmm. And he was just very emphatic that I needed to return immediately and talk with his mother, that the younger brother was in trouble. And I said, well, let me just walk for a little bit and I'll go back. And it was like he showed me a picture, a visual of what was happening in the room of the younger brother. And it was, to be perfectly honest, one of the scariest things I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of stuff. When it's that scary, you don't stop and ask, who are you and what do you want? I immediately, it was just, so imagine somebody stabbing you in the heart and how much that would hurt. It would be that scary. It was that malevolent. It was that sinister. It was that bad. It was like, oh my goodness. And so I knew that the people in the household couldn't see it, but could probably feel it. So I immediately inserted my energy into the room and created a wall between that entity and the child, and said, okay, I'm turning around now. And went back and started to, and actually it's a great story, because I walked back into the office and I couldn't remember the name of the mother. And I said, you and your son won't let me be. And she was like, oh yeah, of course, he's persistent, blah blah. And we immediately went in and ghost busted the house and cleared the energy. But it was a very dangerous, very malicious, very malevolent, very, very evil presence.
How do you ghost bust it?
It depends on the energy. In this case, it was huge. It was way big. So what I have to do is make myself bigger than that, and I create a wall in between that energy and the person that it has decided to haunt. And if you imagine turning on a beam of a spotlight, a really bright spotlight, I can do that in between the bad guy and the good guy, and just break it up and just say, no, you can't do this. You can't have this child. No. Not that softly or gently. It was like, oh, no. And then you don't give up until it's done. And I bring in the child and I bring in the family and say, okay, this is what we're dealing with. This is what we need to do, so that they are aware. Because if I just go in and do it, that could be recreated, because they have not raised their consciousness to the point of being able to discern that kind of energy. And so then we started training the young man in what energies are going on in his room and what energies are going on around the house. And we've done a lot of work for about a year together in working with the energies. And they're doing really, really great. Really, really great.
It's good it's having a happy ending, but nevertheless, that's pretty creepy.
Well, you can't be afraid. You can't be afraid. You can't be afraid. I mean, you can, but it won't do anybody any good.
Yeah, well, that would be my tendency. I suppose, like anything, I guess you would get better and better at it as you do something like that. But
well, and the fear is you can't see it. You can't really hear it. It's not in this dimension. It's otherworldly. So you feel it, like the hairs on the back of your neck. You feel it in your solar plexus. You feel shivers up your spine. You feel that malicious energy. And we do feel other people's energies when they're in a bad mood, whether they're cranky. We were talking about people who stress us out, people who, we can't fix them. We can't fix humans, but we still absorb their emotions and their attitudes when we're around them for a long period of time. So my answer to that is buff yourself up as much as you can energetically, and that can be in a lot of different ways. That can be expanding your joy, expanding your intelligence, doing what you love to do, be a warrior, dun dun dun, whatever. In my case, I have a tendency in large communities to be happy, to be overly happy and joyful. And when I'm happy and joyful, things don't touch me. Things don't get to me. If it's a bad spirit, I will rear up my shield of light and take you down.
You're the gracious type. That does make sense, because I think most people can get a vibe from somebody. But
yeah, we do feel those things, and it's interesting to see how we respond. Whether we try to help them, try to make them feel better, try to listen to them, and as we've discussed, everybody's got their own stuff. And I've really noticed one of two things. One thing is that people get used to their own darkness, and they like it. People get used to their negativity, and that's comforting. I remember the dark energies around when I was very, very small, and they were very warm and kind and comforting to me when everybody else was trying to kill me, was being mean. No place was safe or kind, and here were these dark energies that attached themselves to me and said they were my friends. And when I had to really let them go, that was very hard for me. They were very warm and seemed like a protection for me when they really weren't.
Where is the other side?
The other side!
Sounds like a Doors song.
That's a really good question. I'm going to say it depends on your consciousness and your belief structure and your DNA. I think it depends a lot on what you were trained, where you come from, your heritage, what you choose to believe, how you choose to see this reality or that reality, who you believe has the right truth for you, because there's a lot of philosophies. There's a lot of, heaven is this, well, heaven is that. Hell's this, hell's that. It's the fifth dimension, it's the fourth dimension, it's the 12th dimension, it's the seventh dimension. Like, where in the world is all of this, And the truth is, it's all here. And you get to choose where you want to be. And so we're always kind of like moving through energies. All these dimensions are in the absence of stuff. So like out in outer space, there's a lot of space. In inner space, in the subatomic structures, there's a lot of space. And that's where all these things are. I'm giving you googly eyes.
I know. My hair's standing up. You're freaking me out. Stop it, man. God.
Are you getting scared?
You're making me think.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Poltergeists. That always brings to mind a movie.
It does. The truth, my experience with poltergeist is that it's beer foam.
Beer foam.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you say put extra head on that beer, which could mean a whole lot of different things.
It could mean a whole lot of different things. That's true.
It brings to mind poltergeist. All right. Explain.
So my experience with poltergeist is, was my conclusion, based on my experiences in ghost busting, is that they are soulless. A poltergeist is not a person or a soul trying to do anything. It is the result of negative energy. It's the result of bad things happening. And it's an energetic backflash, backwash of, can I say crap? It's an energetic backwash, and it starts to ferment, and it starts to create a life of its own, and it starts to like throw things around, and it starts to have some kind of tangible abilities to manipulate tangible reality. But it's not really a person, it's not really a thing, and whenever I've come across it, I've been able to just basically wash it out. But it's usually attached to somebody in the home who's overly stressed, overly anxious, overly frenetic, frantic about things, and, kind of always in a cyclone of emotional disarray. And that just creates a cyclone of emotional disarray all around them.
And hence a beer head. Wow.
Ta-da!
Okay.
Who knew?
You put it into terms. Yeah, I understand beer really well. We're getting somewhere here.
We're getting somewhere. All right, you're thinking, and we got beer.
Yeah.
All right.
And
yes, sir.
The list goes on. Demons, ghosts.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy. Which one would you want?
Well, demons.
Demons. Okay. So, religious stories, different constructs of belief structures regarding God and light and good and evil and bad and all that good stuff, and how things are divided into angels and demons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds man-made to me. It sounds fabricated, but
it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But when man decides that that's a truth, then guess what?
It is?
It is, yeah. And when he decides that's a truth forever and ever and ever, it just gets bigger and stronger. So it depends on what you want to believe. Yes, there are demons because people believe in demons. People have created demons. And they're pretty scary. If I were to run into a demon, I would probably find a demonologist, because I have not researched that, so I would not want to go into that household without being armed appropriately.
Well, if you're scared of it, I'm sure as hell not going in there.
Yeah, I would leave and find somebody who is a professional in this understanding. Yeah. Well, it's a big genre. It is, and it's very ancient, and it has deep, deep roots, and so, it's a truth.
So are ghosts safer than demons?
Yeah. Let's play with the ghosts.
Let's go with some ghosts.
Let's go with some ghosts. Yeah. So, and we know that your listeners can Google all of this and find out whatever information they want. Ghosts are fun. Ghosts are people who are no longer in physical form, and who knows what they're doing, coming and going, this dimension, that dimension, in and out and around. They might just think you're kind of cute, want to hang out. They might like the music
that
you play.
Be Casper the friendly ghost.
The friendly ghost. Yes. Oh, I'm sure there are other ghosts that would think you are pretty adorable. There you go. Yeah, for sure. There are spirits who are lost, who are like, hey, where'd my family go? I have been in houses that were abandoned and someone was left behind, and they're like, where'd they go? They can't find their way. There are spirits who want to hang around and help. There are spirits who come from other places to help. I've had experiences where there are groups of spirits that are practicing breaking into this reality, just like we are practicing opening up to that reality. That's really kind of interesting.
You see TV shows where they claim to have the technology to photograph these things.
Yes.
And it's such a brief glimpse.
Yes.
Or to make a half-hour TV thing, there's several commercials you have to sit through before you see that brief glimpse of something that doesn't have a whole lot of definition to it. Is there any truth behind those guys, or are they just selling you a bill of goods, or what's?
Well, I think like everything or anything, there's good, bad, and this is such a nebulous experience, and it's so personal to each person. And you notice in those shows, there's always someone who's always afraid, and they get all whacked out, freaked out. And they're like, that wasn't it at all. And that's why they have to debunk things, because sometimes they're just afraid. There are some who are very, intellectual, and I won't believe it until I see it. And so then they need some kind of mechanical something. But still, you'll see, they'll show it and you'll be like, I don't see anything there. But he did, So again, it's all a personal experience, and it's true if you want it to be true, and it's not true if you don't want it to be true. And you'll see that over and over again. The thing that worries me, that I get fearful, is that a lot of people will explore the paranormal without good tools to deal with the paranormal.
You've been listening to the Better Each Day podcast radio show with Bruce Hilliard. We'll be back with a new horizon, but until then, honor the future. It comes with a lifetime guarantee.
And we're all just trying to make the next day a bit better.